Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're taking a look at entropic patchwork. Now, I'm going to admit that it's actually taken me a few days to try and imagine what an entropic patchwork would look like. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not even sure I've necessarily got this right. So, entropic, I'm essentially interpreting as entropy, which, I think we'd all know is almost like part of thermodynamics, that the universe is always increasing its entropy, its randomness, kind of spreading of things. And how am I going to do this and represent it in patchwork? Well, we've got very random quilt here with tons of patches, all looking very different. That's the best I'm going to be able to do. And it really has taken me a few days of just kind of mulling it over in the back of my mind to come this far. Now, fingers crossed, this particular puzzle is going to be very far from entropy. We're going to actually be doing almost like the reverse of entropy, trying to restore order to this particular puzzle. So let's take a look at it. We have Entropic Patchwork by Sniglett and the following set of rules. So first off, we know normal Sudoku rules apply. So that's the digits 1 to 9 in every row, such as this one, every column, and every 3 by 3 box. Clearly that cell is not part of a 3 by 3 box. This is a 3 by 3 box. Now the next part is really almost more like a modulus rather than entropy. So every 2 by 2 square on the grid and every orange line must contain at least one number from each of the sets. 1, 2, 3, that's set 1, 4, 5, 6, that's set 2, and 7, 8, 9, that's set 3. And I guess that kind of makes sense to call it entropy. So imagine this is 1, 2, or 3, and I'm going to call this, and I'm going to use colors throughout all of this. Otherwise, it's going to be almost insanity to keep track of all of it. If this is 1, 2, or 3, then one of these is going to be 4, 5, or 6. I'm going to just pick at random. It's going to be this one, and I'm going to color 4, 5, and 6 being kind of the medium set, yellow, and then therefore this would 4, 7, 8, and 9 in this cell, and I'm going to color that set red. So in every orange line, and you can see there are many of these throughout the puzzle, we must have one of each. But not only do we need to do that, every 2 by 2 square on the grid, so that such as this one, and I just deliberately chose this is red, so this is another cell from 7, 8, and 9, this therefore now has to be yellow. It's got to be that every 2 by 2 square in the grid, even this one, the fact that I just placed a yellow in here, means this now has to be blue for it to actually ensure that every 2 by 2 square on the grid is made up from at least one of each of these sets. So what else do we have? We've got Kropki dots, black dots specifically. So black dots separate cells with a 1 to 2 ratio, and white dots separate consecutive digits. So let's take a look at this cell for the moment. This is saying it is 1, 2, or 3. How would I pencil mark this cell? So if it was a 1 to 2 ratio could only be a 2. If this was a 2, a 1 to 2 ratio could be 1, could also be 4. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 would be 4. And then the last option would be if this was a 3, 3 times 2 would be 6. I think obviously it'll be obvious to many of you that if I divide 3 by 2, I'm not going to get an integer number, so that would be the only option. And that would be a valid set of pencil marks on here. Now we also have white cells, or white Kropki dots joining two cells. So if that was a 2, for example, this cell would have to be from either 1, as in 1 plus 1 is 2, or 3, as in 2 plus 1 is 3, for it to be consecutive with the 2. Now that's all the rules we have for today. Now, if you are trying to do the impossible with me, reverse entropy, try and figure out what on earth is going on with this patchwork of a grid, link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Now, one disadvantage of having had to mull over the thumbnail for a while, I kind of just remember, my subconscious has probably thought about this puzzle for a bit. And the one thing that really stuck out to me is there's a lot of black Kropki dots on orange lines. There's a lot of them. And I'm kind of wondering if there is a bit of a restriction here about it. So let's think about this for a second. I am fairly sure I cannot have a 1 on a black Kropki dot on an orange line. And the reason for that is if I put a 1 in here, this would have to be 2. And you can see they are both from the blue set of 1, 2, and 3. Equally, if I try and put an 8 on here, I'm going to have this. Am I going to have the same challenge? No, I'm not going to have the same challenge. So I'm kind of restricted to, I can do 2 and 4, as in blue, yellow. 4 and 8 would also work, as in yellow, red. And then the last one that would work would also be 3 and 6, as in blue and yellow. So the way I've been almost like, I think we can think about this is, we know that one of these sets is 4, as in it's either 2, 4 or 4, 8. And we know one of these sets is a 3, as in 3, 6. So one way I can almost like think about solving this puzzle is it's either, orange for, I don't know what it is, 4s or 3s, and therefore this one is blues. The fact that this is a blue would have to mean that this is a blue, and we can maybe make a little bit of progress that way. But despite the fact that we actually have a lot of black Kropki dots, it doesn't really help because they don't really see others. I mean, they see this black Kropki dot, but there's no guarantee, for example, that this is a 1, 2. This can be a 1, 2 pair. There's nothing that's going to break that, because these two could still be the same, providing that this is yellow and red. So I think I'm onto the right idea. Maybe I'm just starting in the wrong part of the puzzle. And we should probably use this one here, because it is a black Kropki dot on there, but I have all of these white dots that will help as well. So we said this is either from 4 with a 2 and an 8, or from 3, 6. So let's try this. If this was, let's try 4 first. So if this was 2, 4, yeah, you see that's quite tricky actually. Because whatever this cell is, has to be like on the edge of a set. 2 is very much in the middle. I mean, 4 works, but 4 would have to go down to a 3. So I mean, I can do 4, 3, but I can't do, I mean, this would be a valid fill, for example. I can do 4 and 8, and that would be a valid fill. So the one in the middle in here is actually extremely restricted. It needs to be different from both of these. And because this is a white Kropki dot, I can only have one that's essentially on the edge of the set. So this is either a 4, and actually kind of what I just filled in would be fine. The other option is that this is a 3, because then the 3 would essentially go up. No, that doesn't work actually. Because I could have done 3 and 6. And even though the 3 is on the edge, it would put a 4 in here. I've now got 4 and 6 that are both from the yellow set. So actually 3 in there doesn't work. Maybe 6. 6 is on the edge. So I could do 6 with a 3. So that would be blue, that would be yellow, and then this would be red, and I can do that with a 7. So incredibly restricted. And then the 4 would, well, and then we're joined with a white Kropki dot to a digit that has to be on a black Kropki dot. And that gives us the first digits. Goodness me, 5 minutes in. Can't be a 6. Because if it is a 6, this will be from 5 or 7, and neither can be on a black Kropki dot. So that's a 4, that's an 8, that's a 3. This is now, because it's got to be on here, can't be a 5, it's 3, it's 6. And we've got not only one digit, we've got suddenly tons of digits. I'll take it. Remember what I said earlier about these are either 4s or 3s? Sorry, 3 6s or 4 joint with something. Well, now we've got 3 looking at this. That's the 4. That's the 3 6 pair. I can be pretty confident about that. Box 4. Now you see this is not on an orange line, but really it is. Because essentially I've got 2 orange lines in box 4, meaning that technically I have a third orange line in this row. It's just not shown, because there will be 1 red in here, 1 red there, be 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 blue, 1 blue. I'm left with a set of red, yellow, and blue. So I actually have to have different sets in here. I've got the same kind of work that I had earlier, which is that this can only be from 4 and 6. The 4 would have to be joined with an 8 and then a 3 in here. The 6 could be joined with a 3 and then a 7, and immediately that breaks because you can see the 7 cannot be on a black Kropki dot. So this is already 4, 3, 6, 8 again. And I'm actually going to take this a step further in a second. I'm going to, because you can see now we've got roping. The fact that we have 3, 4, and 8 in here, 3, 4, and 8 in there, means this is also 3, 4, 8, and we're actually going to have roping throughout the entire puzzle. So whatever this 6 is going to be joined on in here with, there'll be 6 there and 6 up here. And I bet I can figure out what some of these things are. So clearly, to be consecutive, that's not going to be the 8 with a 3 or 4. That's the 8. The 3, let's do it this way first. The 3 could be with a 6. No, it can't be. I've got a 3, 6 pair looking at here. So that's not a 3. That's a 4. 8's not available. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 6. Needs to be different. Kind of same thing as box 4 and box 5. I've got a set here of blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red. I need to have a third set in here of blue, yellow, red. That's got to be a 7. And I'm going to start coloring and actually filling in the patchwork in a second, because I think we can do a lot of digits all of a sudden. So let's do that. That's yellow, that's blue. Now take a look at this. We need a red in here, or else remaining red can only be a 9. I need a blue in here. I've placed the 3. I'm going to say this is the 2. No, it can't be the 2. I said there is roping going on. The 2 is joined with the 6, so that's a 2. This is actually a 2, 9. Essentially, I'm just copying this row. And this is 1, 5, 7. So that's 1, that's 5. This is another 1, 5, 7. This has to be the 6. The 9 is clearly not going to join with something. So that's a 6, that's a 9. That's not the 1. That could be 5 or 7. So it's one, either one would work. And let's get to work patching. So that's got to be red. That's the 9. That's got to be blue. That's the 2. 2, yellow. I need a yellow in here. So that's the 5. That's the blue. That's the red. That's the yellow. I'm just sort of quickly just doing a bunch of squares in here. This you can see is missing a red. Well, we already actually have it. And this has to be yellow. You've got missing a yellow from this missing a blue from this, and missing a red from this one. Fantastic. 1 5 9 2 5 1 7. Now, same thing. These have to be from 4 or 3. This 3, well, 3 6 really is staring at this. That's the 3 6. 3 6, not 2 6. That's another 3 6. That's got to be from with a 4. Don't know which 4 it is yet, but it's got to be from 1. What else do I know? I know that this has to be red, and I've already used the 9. So this is from 7 or 8. Up here I have 2 and 5 with another one of 7 or 8. Here is 7 or 9. Essentially to sort of finish up. I think I can probably fill this. Actually, yes, I can. The reason I can is I've got 2 5 in here, meaning this 4 is joined with a 4 8, not a 2 4. So this is a 4 8 with a low digit. It's not 2, it's not 3, it's got to be 1, which allows me to fill this in. This is with a 9 now, and it's 2 5 9. I've actually got roping again. No. Interesting. Why do I not have it again? It's kind of the 9 and the 8 sort of almost like swapped responsibilities somehow. Unless I made a mistake. Certainly a possibility. Well, anyway, this 8 is not in here. It's got to be in there. Therefore, this is the remaining digits. Not 9, not 8. It's a 7. It's 1, 4, and 7. Making this a 9. Making this 2, 5, and 7. And we'll get to coloring in a second, such as in here. You can see I am missing a red. I've actually got all of them. I've got all of them. Bit unfortunate. So it doesn't exactly help me other than just saying that this is a 9. I need a high digit in here, which is nice. It gives me a low digit in there because of this. Sorry, that setup needed a blue to have one of each colors. Again, needs a yellow. It's on an orange line, and actually the same thing. We've got a red in here. This stops, unfortunately, because we've got all 3, and it stops in here because we've got all 3. This 8 tells me that this is from 7 or 9 again. This is 1 or 3 because the 2 is not available. This is 4 or 5, and this is 7 or 8. Just vertically looking at Sudoku about what it eliminates. I actually know what this black Kropki dot is because I've got 1 and 4. So it's not 1 2. It's not 2 4. It's also not 4 8. This can only be 3 6. I was just thinking I've got 3 6 in here, 3 6 in there. So I know there's 3 6 in there, but the fact that this can be a 3 doesn't help. Otherwise it would have been 2 3 6s. Okay. So I know I have a 1 and a 4 in here with either a 7 or 9. What am I missing? It's just it suddenly got very difficult, and I'm not too sure why. Excuse me. So that's my blue. Oh, there you go. That's a blue. That's not blue. It's going to be yellow or red, as in another one of these. I need a blue as part of this square. That's blue. That's yellow now, because, you know, I've got all of them except the yellow. And therefore this is blue. This has to be red. This would be, I guess, the yellow, because it was the last one in the row anyway, and sorry, in the column. I've got one of each, I've got one of each. That's not how I'm going to disambiguate it, but it gives me more digits. I'm not going to say no to that. Not quite how I was expecting to do it, but this 3 is looking in here. That's a 6, that's a 3, that's a 6. These 2 3s, this 3s, if you remember I was looking at this earlier, tells me that this is a 3 now. I've almost done all the 3s and 6s, haven't I? I believe I'm not far off it. Not far off it at all. So we know that we have a 2 in here, because that's the remaining blue that we need on this orange line, with another red, and it's got to be 7, 8 because 9 is not available. So we have another 7, 8 in essence with this 2. So this is 2, 7, 8. We have 9 that goes in here with a 1 because we've used the 3 and the 2, and then a 4 or 5. And actually, I've got a setup in here that tells me that this is red. That's a 9. These are not 9. Unfortunately, I don't know which is which now. This is from 1, 4, or 5. Okay. It'll be helpful to know if this is 4, 8 or 2, 4. I don't know, it got so much harder that I'm just thinking I must have made a mistake somewhere. It shouldn't. It was all going so extremely easily with the patchwork that I'm kind of surprised suddenly I'm having to do almost like wizardry to try and spot where the next digit is coming from. And I'm really hoping I didn't make a mistake. But let's imagine that this is 2, 4. So that would be blue, yellow, and I need a red. And the red wouldn't be 7. It'll be 8 or 9. Lovely, making it pretty hard for me to actually disambiguate. If that was 4, 8, I would need a low digit. And it's not 3 and it's not 2, it would be 1. I think what I can say is that whatever this is not yellow. This is either a low digit because I have 2, 4 in here. Sorry, 4, 8 in there. And therefore this would be low, which is a 1. Or this is 2, 4, and I need a high digit. Regardless, this square needs a yellow digit, and it's not there. It can only be in here. It's not 4, it's not 6. That's a 5. That's a 4, therefore. That's a 1, 5 pair. And that's an 8. That's a 4. That's a 7. That's a 9. This is no longer a high digit. Notice, because I've used all of them. That's a low digit. That's the 1. Making this, it can't be 2, 4 anymore. It's got to be a 4, 8 for me to continue to have one of each. And actually this 4, 8 disambiguates. That's an 8. That's a 4. We know what this digit is. It's not 1, 5. I need a low digit. It's 2. And the last thing is a high digit, which is the 7. So these are not. This is 2 8s. Let me do a bit of coloring. Can I do any more? Not very obvious, no. Okay, but I know what these are now, finally. So this is 147 again. This is 3, 6, and 8. Except that's not a 3, that's not a 6, that's not an 8. And the last set in here, we need 2, 5, and 9. That's not a 9. I need, you can see in this square, a blue digit. That's not blue. That's got to be blue. Therefore, that's the 2. These are not 2. I need a yellow digit between these, but there's quite a few options, actually. This one was staring at this 5. Come on, Sleuth, wake up. That's a 2, 8. That's another 2, 8. That's a 2. That's the 8. That's a 2. That's an 8. So that's a 6. What else do I know? Yep, that's got to be yellow. That's got to be red. It's on an orange line. That's got to be blue. That's got to be blue. We're missing it from this square. That's got to be yellow. Let's just fill in a few digits. 4, 7, 1, 3, 6. That's got to be yellow. It's on an orange line. That's got to be blue. That's the last remaining red in this row. That's the 7. Got all of them in here. I can probably use a bit of Sudoku now to just finish up. We've got a 2 and 9. Not resolved. We've got a 2, 3. That's the 1. That's the 7. These are not 7. I know what these are. I've got all blues. I've got 4 and 7. And I actually can resolve these because of this 7. So that's the 4. That's the 7. That's the 1. That's the 4. So 1 or 4 do anything for me? Nope. So we're relying on entropy again to solve the remainder, which I'm sure we'll do momentarily. I need a red in here. Therefore, that's blue. I don't know what I need in there. I could have anything in here. Let's see where this takes me. This 9, I'm sure, gives me a lot of things. Yeah. 5, 9, 2, 5. And we already know the 3 and 6. I mean, the 6 I've already placed ages ago, so kind of almost embarrassing. And that's the solution to today's puzzle. Wow. Sorry, I'm feeling determined to actually make sure that I color all the rest. There we go. What a puzzle, Sniglett. I don't know, like I'm really wondering if I missed some obvious steps. So I think the break-in wasn't that hard to spot. So having the break-in, then realizing we have this same challenge in here, then I think seeing the roping, I'm not sure, like, I mean, there must have been an easier path than what I've done. Because it just feels like I was using a whole bunch of advanced techniques to be able to make progress. And then the roping really made the rest of this kind of easy to breathe through. So we got to this point where we have pretty much all of this, realizing that the 4s and the 3s kind of intricately linked, so giving myself a lot of these. But then, you know, suddenly having to switch constantly between Sudoku, Kropki dots, kind of that 3 and 4, and then entropy patches and entropy lines. That seemed very involved. And I'm not sure if that was by design or I was just struck by Sudoku blindness and I just couldn't see some of the more obvious paths. Highly likely that was the case. Nevertheless, Sniglett, it's an absolutely phenomenal puzzle. You know, stunning puzzle, highly logical, but really does push you. and I absolutely loved it. And I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video and today's puzzle. And I'll see you back for the next one. Bye bye.